Great. Hey, Diego. Good to see you.
Good to see you
So,
too.
so I've got some of our killer data questions for you. We're out on the streets in Auckland. So the first one is, what got you hooked on data?
Um, I did not prepare for this one, by the way. I think intrinsically, since I was very little, I always wanted to know how things work and what things are made of. And I think data starts with information. It's the other way around, really. But when you're young, you don't understand the difference between the two things. So I think as I grew up, it was how that toy works, and then it was how that computer works, and what's inside computers, and what happens with this and that. And then a few years ago, quite a few years ago actually, it was the idea of how data could predict the future, and that blew my mind. And how, by analyzing the data in certain ways, you could fairly accurately um, work out the behavior of people and the behavior of society and in general how things are going to pan out. That blew my mind. And I remember thinking, man, this is something we definitely want to look up for.
Thanks, Diego. So next question. What do you think is the biggest challenge for data for most organizations in 2024?
I think that as the data keeps growing, people seem to think that more places, more data stores mean ease of managing the data, ease of securing the data, ease of moving the data around, when I don't see a lot of people thinking about the resourcing behind all of that. There's a lot of automation that can happen, but there's a reality around not putting all your eggs in one basket when it comes to data, when it comes to protecting the data, when it comes to securing the data, also means someone to manage it or a team of people to manage it. And um, anything that's derived from that, which leads to um, leads to what the opportunities are um, around what are the things that we're going to find. So for me, is challenges around resourcing and how to manage the data and how to manage the many repositories that people have for their data lakes without a single pane of glass. And at the same time, the opportunities are how can we find ways of monetizing that data? How can we find ways of using AI on top of that data so we derive value off of it? And it's not only around monetizing the data, but also finding the way to secure it in a way that serves the organization's business outcomes. And the reason I say this is because it's really easy to back data up and to secure it in an iron mountain. What usually happens is that that stays there, and that is a huge value that people leave there. It's like living in a box with old photos and never looking at them.
Mm.
So I think there's an opportunity there to automate. There's an opportunity to put AI on top, and there's an opportunity, a huge opportunity to overcome the problem of resourcing by putting automation. There's the three pillars that we always use: is modernize, automate, and transform. You modernize the infrastructure that you use, you automate as much as you can, and you transform the cultural view so you derive value from that data. That's the way that I see it.
Awesome. Thanks, Diego. And what about the opposite? What do you think are the biggest data opportunities for organizations in 2024?
So I think it's the same thing, right? So I think it's the biggest opportunity is to transform the way that we see data, so we start monetizing it. We see a lot of organizations, particularly in the market and the marketing side of things, monetizing the data. But what I mean is, how can we? And I'll give you an example. We have a customer with 1.7 petabytes of data, research data, that they're very worried about securing it and backing it up to make it available. Nobody seems to be thinking about how to monetize the data, how to derive value from it. There's invaluable insights that we could get from the societal perspective, from behavioral perspective, and so on. So I think the opportunity there is to find better ways of monetizing the data. That's what I think is going to happen. And conversely, solving the previous problem of resourcing, because you'll be adding large language models, you will be adding AI on top, and things like that.
Excellent. Thanks, Diego. And the
Pleasure.
killer question for you, do you know a data related joke, or what's your favorite data related joke?
I know a few. Um, as I was saying before, when we're having a conversation, um, the the one that nobody seems to understand because I tell it wrong.
Yeah.
There's data that shows that 51% of students come out of school with a really, really, really good understanding of math. I'm clearly part of the 65% best.
Well, I get it, so that's a good one.
Oh, you're smart, that's why. Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. That's awesome.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.